The stars looked peaceful from the bridge of the ESS Wanderer. Captain Daniel Harris stood with his hands behind his back, watching the viewport as his ship moved through deep space. They had been traveling for 3 weeks now, heading toward the outer edge of known space. Earth had sent them on a simple mission: make contact with new species and build friendships across the galaxy. Daniel was a tall man with gray hair at his temples. He had served 20 years in the Marine Corps before joining the space exploration program. He believed in peace, but he never forgot his training. His crew trusted him because he was calm under pressure and always made smart decisions. "Captain, we are picking up something strange," said Lieutenant Kyle Bennett from the tactical station. He was young, barely 30 years old, with bright eyes and quick fingers on the controls. "There is a signal coming from an uncharted system. It sounds like a distress call." Daniel turned to look at him. "Can you clean it up?" "Let me hear it." Kyle worked on his console for a moment. Then a sound filled the bridge. It was broken and filled with static, but they could hear fear in it. Someone was screaming. Someone was begging for help. Then the signal cut to silence. Commander Lisa Grant, the first officer, stepped forward. She was a woman in her 40s with sharp intelligence in her eyes. "Sir, that system is not on any of our maps." "The Galactic Council never mentioned it." "Set a course," Daniel said. "Someone needs help. That is why we are out here." Dr. Elizabeth Moore looked up from her science station. She was the chief xenobiologist, responsible for studying alien life. She had kind eyes and always believed the best about people. "Captain, should we inform the council first? This could be dangerous." "We will send them a message," Daniel replied. "But we are not waiting for permission to help someone in trouble." The Wanderer changed course. It took them 6 hours to reach the system. As they got closer, Kyle started getting worried looks on his face. "Captain, I am detecting debris fields, lots of them, and radiation signatures that look like weapons fire." "Show me," Daniel ordered. The main screen changed to show what their sensors were picking up. What they saw made everyone on the bridge go silent. There were 3 planets in this system. One of them had been home to someone. They could see the remains of cities from orbit. But everything was destroyed. Buildings were flattened. Forests were burning. The oceans looked dark and polluted. "My God," Elizabeth whispered. "What happened here?" "Lisa, scan for life signs," Daniel said. His voice was hard now. He had seen war before. This looked like war. Lisa worked quickly. After a minute, she shook her head. "Nothing. No life signs anywhere on the planet. The atmosphere is barely breathable. Whoever lived here, they are gone." "Wait," Kyle said suddenly. "I have something." "Very faint. Underground, it could be a shelter." Daniel made his decision quickly. "Kyle, you are with me. Lisa, you have the bridge. Elizabeth, bring your medical kit. We are going down there." They took a shuttle down to the planet's surface. The landing was rough because of all the ash in the air. When they stepped out, they had to wear breathing masks. The world around them looked dead. Buildings were just broken concrete and twisted metal. Bodies lay in the streets left where they had fallen. Elizabeth covered her mouth with her hand, even though she wore a mask. "This is not war. This is murder." Daniel checked his scanner. "The life sign is this way. Stay close." They walked through the ruins. Kyle kept his hand on his sidearm. Everything was quiet except for the wind blowing through broken buildings. They found the entrance to the underground shelter behind a collapsed wall. The door was sealed, but their tools opened it. Inside, they found darkness. Daniel turned on his flashlight. The beam showed a small room with old food containers and blankets. And in the corner, hiding behind a box, they found her. She was small, maybe 4 feet tall, with gray skin and large dark eyes. She looked like a deer might look if it walked on 2 legs. When she saw them, she made a sound of pure terror and tried to press herself further into the corner. Elizabeth slowly knelt down. She kept her movements gentle. "We are not here to hurt you. We are here to help. My name is Elizabeth."
"Can you understand me?"
The alien girl stared at them. Slowly, she nodded. Her voice came out as a whisper. "You are not Vrakthor?" "No," Elizabeth said softly. "We are humans. From a planet called Earth. What is your name?" Mira, I am Kelhari." She started to cry. "I am the last Kelhari." They brought Mira back to the ship. Dr. Moore gave her food and water while she told them her story. The Kelhari had been a peaceful people. They were farmers and artists. They never built weapons because they never needed to. Their world was beautiful and they were happy. Then the Vrakthor came. They did not want our world, Mira said, her voice shaking. They did not want our resources. They just wanted us dead. They said we were weak. They said the galaxy did not need weak species. The Vrakthor had bombed their cities from orbit. Then they landed soldiers who hunted down survivors. They killed everyone they found. Men, women, children. It did not matter. They were thorough and they were cruel. My mother hid me in that shelter, Mira continued. She told me to wait. She said she would come back. But she never did. I waited for 30 days. I ate all the food. Then I heard your ship. Daniel listened to all of this with a stone face, but inside he felt rage building. This was not war. War had rules. This was extermination. Did the Galactic Council know about this? He asked. Mira nodded slowly. We called them. We begged for help. They said they would discuss it. But the Vrakthor came before they finished discussing. Elizabeth looked at Daniel. Her kind eyes were now hard. Captain, we need to report this immediately. We will, Daniel said. But first, Kyle, I want everything documented. Every building. Every body. I want footage that shows exactly what happened here. Lisa, access the Kalahari databases if any still work. I want their history, their culture, everything. It took them 3 days to document everything. What they found made it worse. The Kalahari had kept records of trying to contact the Vrakthor peacefully. They had offered to share their farming knowledge. They had offered friendship. The Vrakthor had responded by declaring them weak and marking them for extinction. But there was more. Lisa found data that showed this was not the first time. The Vrakthor had done this before. Many times. They had destroyed 37 other species over the last 100 years. The Galactic Council had records of all of it. They knew. And they did nothing. Daniel called a meeting in the conference room. His senior officers gathered around the table. He showed them everything they had found. When he finished, the room was silent. Finally, Elizabeth spoke. What do we do? We send all of this to Earth, Daniel said. Every file, every image, every video. We let the government decide what to do next. And what do you think they will decide? Kyle asked. Daniel looked at each of them. He had fought in wars before. He knew what humans were capable of when pushed. I think the Vrakthor are about to learn something the Galactic Council already knows. Humans do not tolerate genocide. We have seen what happens when good people do nothing. We learned that lesson in blood, and we swore never to let it happen again. He stood up and walked to the viewport. Outside, the ruined planet turned slowly in the darkness. The Vrakthor think they are the monsters of this galaxy, he said quietly. They are about to find out what real monsters look like. They sent the data burst that night. It would take 2 weeks to reach Earth. Daniel wrote a personal message to go with it. He kept it short. To Earth Command. We have discovered proof of systematic genocide. 37 species extinct. Billions dead. The Galactic Council knows and does nothing. They are too afraid to act. My recommendation, prepare for war. This cannot stand. Captain Daniel Harris. As the message flew across the stars toward home, Mira came to stand beside Daniel at the viewport. She was so small next to him. So fragile. But she was also the last voice of her entire species. Will your people help? She asked. Even though you never knew us. Even though we have nothing to offer you? Daniel looked down at her. He thought about Earth's history. All the times they had failed to stop genocide. All the times they had acted too late. All the promises of never again that they had made. Yes, he said simply. We will help. Because that is what we do. We might not always do it perfectly. We might not always do it right. But when we see evil, we fight it. That is what makes us human. Mira started to cry again. But this time they were not tears of despair. For the first time in 30 days, she felt something she thought she had lost forever. She felt hope. Far across the galaxy, the message reached Earth. Within hours, it was in the hands of the Secretary General. Within days, it was shown to every leader of every nation. And within weeks, humanity began to mobilize. The Vrakthor Dominion had no idea what was coming. They were comfortable in their superiority. They had hunted weak prey for so long that they forgot what it meant to face a predator. They were about to learn. Humanity was preparing to teach them a lesson written in fire and steel. A lesson about what happens when you mistake mercy for weakness. A lesson about what it means to wake the sleeping giant. The galaxy was about to change. and it would never be the same again. The United Nations Assembly Hall had never been so quiet. Every seat was filled. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat in tense silence. On the massive screen at the front, images played. Cities burning, bodies in streets, a small gray alien girl crying in a shelter. Secretary General Amanda Price stood at the podium. She was a woman in her 60s with silver hair and steel in her eyes. Before becoming leader of the United Earth government, she had been a prosecutor at the International Criminal Court. She had spent her life fighting for justice. Now she faced the greatest challenge of her career. The video finished. The silence stretched on. Finally, Amanda spoke. 3 weeks ago, Captain Daniel Harris of the ESS Wanderer discovered what you just saw. The complete destruction of an intelligent species. The Kelhari are gone, all but one. And they are not the first. She pressed a button. The screen showed a list of names. 37 names. These are the species that the Vrakthor Dominion has exterminated in the last century. 37 civilizations. Billions of individuals. All dead. A hologram flickered to life beside her. It showed an alien with blue skin and 4 arms. This was Ambassador Trell of the Galactic Council. Secretary General Price, Trell said. His voice was worried. We understand your anger. We share it. But you must understand the situation. The Vrakthor are powerful. Their fleet is massive. If we fight them, many more will die. We must find a diplomatic solution. Amanda looked at him with cold eyes. How long have you known about this? Trell hesitated. The first incident was 80 years ago, but we thought it was isolated. We thought 80 years, Amanda interrupted. 37 species, and you did nothing. You are not looking for a diplomatic solution. You are looking for an excuse to keep doing nothing. Trell's skin darkened with emotion. What would you have us do? Throw our lives away? The Vrakthor laugh at our protests. They ignore our sanctions. Force is all they understand, and we are not warriors. Amanda leaned forward. Then it is fortunate that we are. She turned back to the assembly. When she spoke again, her voice carried to every corner of the hall. You want to know what humanity is? I will tell you. We are the species that survived ice ages with nothing but fire and fur. We are the species that turned wolves into dogs and learned to fly when we had no wings. We climbed the highest mountains because they were there. We split the atom and touched the stars, she paused. But more than that, we are the species that learned from our mistakes. We know what happens when evil goes unchallenged. We have the graves to prove it, millions of them. And we made a promise standing over those graves. Never again would we stand by and watch genocide happen. Her voice grew harder. The Galactic Council can calculate odds. They can debate and discuss, but we do not need to calculate. We see genocide and we end it. That is what we do. That is what makes us human. The assembly erupted in applause. Every delegate was standing. Even some who had argued for caution were on their feet. Trell looked shocked. You cannot be serious. You are one species. They have conquered dozens of worlds. Their military technology is designed to fight peaceful prey, a new voice said. A man walked onto the stage. He was older, with gray hair and hard eyes. This was Dr. Richard Cole, head of the Xenopsychology Institute. He had spent years studying alien behavior and warfare patterns. I have studied the Vrakthor extensively, Dr. Cole continued. They are bullies, not warriors. They prey on species that cannot fight back. They have never faced true warfare. They have never seen psychological operations. They have never fought an enemy that does not play by their rules. He brought up images on the screen. Battle formations, ship designs, tactical doctrines. Look at this. Their fleet tactics are basic. They rely on overwhelming force and fear. Their ships are powerful but predictable. They have no concept of guerrilla warfare. No understanding of asymmetric tactics. They think strength is everything. He smiled, but it was not a kind smile. They are about to learn that strength without wisdom is weakness. Admiral Jacob Stone stepped forward next. He was a bear of a man, tall and broad with scars on his hands from years of service. He commanded Earth's space defense fleet. He had fought in the resource wars that unified Earth. He knew war better than anyone alive. Ladies and gentlemen, he said in a deep voice, I present Operation Reckoning. The screen changed to show star maps and ship movements. Admiral Stone explained his plan step by step. It was brilliant and brutal. Phase 1, infiltration. We will use stealth technology to penetrate Vrakthor space undetected. We will gather intelligence and identify targets. Phase 2, disruption. We will strike their command structure, assassinate their leaders, hack their communications, make them afraid, make them paranoid, break their will before we break their fleet. Phase 3, domination. When they are weak and confused, we will strike with overwhelming force, not to destroy them completely, but to force surrender. We will then bring their leaders to trial for genocide. Trell looked horrified. This is madness. You are talking about total war. No, General Patricia Hughes said. She was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, responsible for all military operations. We are talking about justice. She was a small woman, but her presence filled the room. Everyone listened when she spoke. The Vrakthor started this. They chose genocide as their policy. They chose to prey on the weak. Now they will face the consequences. We will not exterminate them like they exterminated others. We will bring them to justice. We will make them answer for their crimes. That is the difference between them and us. The vote was called. Every nation voted yes. It was unanimous. Earth was going to war. Within hours, orders went out across the planet. Every shipyard began working around the clock. Reserve forces were activated. Scientists and engineers were pulled from civilian projects to work on military technology. The entire planet mobilized like it had not done since World War III. In military academies, instructors dusted off old textbooks. Sun Tzu's Art of War, Clausewitz's On War, modern special operations manuals. Everything humanity had learned about warfare in 10,000 years was studied again. Every tactic, every strategy, every trick. The Galactic Council watched in amazement and fear. They had never seen anything like this. Peaceful species did not have this capability. They could not mobilize so quickly. They could not be so organized. But humans were not a peaceful species. They were a species that chose peace after learning the true cost of war. That made them far more dangerous. 72 hours after the vote, Admiral Stone stood in the command center beneath Geneva. Around him, holographic displays showed every ship in Earth's fleet, every soldier, every weapon. Already, he opened a channel to the Vrakthor homeworld. A reptilian face appeared on the screen. This was Overlord Krauth, supreme leader of the Vrakthor Dominion. He was massive, covered in scales, with teeth like knives. Overlord Krauth, Admiral Stone said, I am Admiral Jacob Stone of Earth. You have committed genocide against 37 species. You have murdered billions of innocent beings. Earth demands your immediate surrender and submission to trial for war crimes. You have 72 hours to respond. Krauth stared at him for a moment. Then he started laughing. It was a horrible sound, like rocks grinding together. You dare threaten us. You are nothing, a young species barely out of your own system. We have conquered worlds when your ancestors were still in caves. We will add you to our list of extinct species. You will learn what it means to face the Vrakthor. Admiral Stone did not change expression. So that is your answer. That is our answer. Come and die, humans. We will enjoy hunting you. The screen went dark. Admiral Stone stood silent for a moment. Then he turned to his officers. They made their choice. Launch Operation Reckoning. Show them what it means to face humanity. Orders flashed across the galaxy at faster-than-light speed. In secret bases across human space, stealth ships powered up their engines. Special operations teams loaded their weapons. Cyber warfare specialists cracked their knuckles and prepared to enter enemy networks. Captain Daniel Harris received his orders aboard the Wanderer. He read them carefully, then looked at his crew. We have new mission orders, he said. We are joining the war. We are going to make sure what happened to the Kelhari never happens again. Dr. Elizabeth Moore looked at him. Her kind eyes had changed over the past weeks. She had seen too much death. She had held Mira while the girl cried for her dead mother. She understood now that sometimes peace required strength. What are our orders? She asked. We are assigned to the reconnaissance group. We will map Vrakthor territory and identify targets for the strike teams. Lieutenant Kyle Bennett smiled. It was a cold smile. Good. Let us show them what happens when you wake up, Earth. Across human space, the feeling was the same. Humanity was angry. Humanity was united. And humanity was preparing to do what it did best. Fight. The Vrakthor Dominion had ruled through fear for a century. They had hunted weak species and called themselves strong. They had never faced a true predator. That was about to change. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the species that had climbed to the top of the food chain on a death world. They were persistence hunters who never stopped. They were the species that had turned warfare into an art form and then into a science. The stealth corvette Silent Reaper moved through space like a ghost. Its hull was black as the void itself, covered in technology that absorbed every sensor scan. To anyone looking, it was just empty space. Nothing there at all. Captain Nina Ross sat in the pilot seat, her hands steady on the controls. She had flown combat missions during the resource wars. She knew how to stay calm when death was one mistake away. Behind her, the rest of the team prepared their equipment. Commander Alex Turner checked his weapons one more time. He was the leader of this special operations group. Tall and quiet, with scars on his face from old battles. "Lieutenant Johnson, are you ready?" Lieutenant Maya Johnson looked up from her computer. She was young, barely 25, but she was the best cyber warfare specialist Earth had ever produced. Her fingers moved across the keyboard like she was playing music. "Almost there, sir. I am breaking through their outer network security now. These Vrakthor think they are so advanced, but their encryption is basic. I could do this in my sleep." Sergeant Victor Kane laughed quietly. He was a Marine, built like a tank with a scar across his bald head. That is because they never fought anyone smart enough to hack them. They were approaching Korthak Prime, a major Vrakthor military base. This was where the Vrakthor planned their genocide campaigns. This was where they trained their soldiers. This was where they laughed about the species they had destroyed. Not anymore. "I am in," Maya said suddenly. Her eyes were bright with excitement. "I have access to their entire communications network. Every message, every order, everything." Alex moved behind her to look at the screen. "Can you broadcast on their network? Can I?" "Sir, I can make their computers play whatever we want. I can put our message on every screen in their empire." Alex smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Then let us send them a message they will never forget." "Upload the package," Maya typed commands quickly. Across Vrakthor space, on every military base, every ship, every government building, screens flickered and changed. They showed footage from the Kelhari world. They showed children running from soldiers. They showed cities burning. They showed bodies. And then a voice spoke in perfect Vrakthor language. It was Admiral Stone's voice, cold and hard. "This is what you did. These are your crimes. We are humanity and we are coming for you. Everyone who participated in genocide will answer for their actions. Run if you want. Hide if you can. It will not matter. We will find you. Justice is coming." In the command center on Korthak Prime, General Vexer watched the broadcast with growing anger. He was a veteran warrior, covered in scars from 100 battles. He had personally led 3 genocide campaigns. He was proud of his work. "Shut it down," he roared at his technicians. "Cut the broadcast." "We are trying, sir," one of them said nervously. "But we cannot. They have complete control of our network. We cannot lock them out." "Impossible. No one can breach our security." "Apparently someone can, sir." Vexer slammed his fist on the console. "Then send the fleet." "Find these humans and destroy them. I want their heads." The Vrakthor fleet launched. 200 warships, each one massive and bristling with weapons. They spread out across their space, hunting for human ships. They were confident. They had never lost a battle before. The first ship vanished 3 hours later. One moment it was patrolling near a gas giant. The next moment, nothing. No explosion. No distress call. Just gone, then another ship disappeared. And another. One by one, the fleet was being picked apart. The Vrakthor sent out search parties. They found wreckage. The ships had not been destroyed. They had been disabled. Engines dead. Weapons offline. Crew alive but terrified. On one ship, they found a message spray painted on the wall in red. "We see you." Panic began to spread. The Vrakthor were hunters. They were used to being the ones causing fear. Now they were the ones afraid. They could not see their enemy. They could not fight what they could not find. Back on the Silent Reaper, Alex's team was preparing for the next phase. They had gathered intelligence on the locations of Vrakthor High Command. The generals and admirals who planned the genocides. The politicians who ordered them. Now it was time for justice. "We have 15 targets across 7 systems," Alex said, showing his team a holographic display. "Each one is a high-ranking officer responsible for genocide. Earth Command has authorized assassination protocols." Victor cracked his knuckles. "Good, about time these monsters paid for what they did." Nina looked uncomfortable. "Are we sure about this?" I mean assassinating them without trial? They will get their trial, Alex said. Those we capture will face justice. But right now we need to break their command structure. We need to make them afraid. Fear is a weapon, and we are going to use it. The strikes were coordinated perfectly. Across 15 different worlds, human special operations teams moved like shadows. They used captured Vrakthor vessels to get close. They wore adaptive camouflage that made them nearly invisible. They struck at night when the Vrakthor were sleeping. Admiral Krax died in his fortress on the third moon of Vraktos, a sniper round from 2 kilometers away. He never saw it coming. General Thork died in his command bunker, supposedly the most secure location in the Empire. A team of humans broke in through the ventilation system and placed a shaped charge on his door. He survived the blast but was captured. He would face trial. Colonel Sarks died in his own bed. The humans left a note on his chest. For the Kelhari. In one night, 15 high-ranking Vrakthor officers were either dead or captured. The ones who survived went into hiding. They sealed themselves in bunkers deep underground. They surrounded themselves with guards. They were terrified. General Vexer was one of the survivors. He sat in his fortified command center, watching reports come in. His hands were shaking. He had never been afraid before. He had hunted defenseless prey his entire life. Now he knew what it felt like to be prey. His aide approached nervously. "Sir, Overlord Krauth is demanding a status report." "What should I tell him?" Vexer looked at him with hollow eyes. "Tell him we are losing. Tell him the humans are not like the species we usually hunt. They are not running. They are not begging. They are hunting us. But sir, we are Vrakthor. We are the strongest species in the galaxy." "How can primitives—" "They are not primitives!" Vexer shouted. "They are predators. Real predators. Not like us. We hunt the weak. They evolved hunting things that could kill them. They perfected warfare over thousands of years. And we made them angry." He stood and walked to the window, looking out at his base. Soldiers were running everywhere, paranoid and afraid. Security was at maximum. But he knew it would not matter. The humans would find a way. "Do you know what makes them so dangerous?" Vexer said quietly. "It is not their technology. It is not their tactics. It is that they see us as evil. They are not fighting for conquest. They are fighting for justice. And that makes them unstoppable." On the Silent Reaper, Maya was monitoring Vrakthor communications. She started laughing. "Commander, you need to hear this. They are terrified. They are calling us demons. They are saying we can move through walls and disappear like ghosts." Alex smiled. "Good, fear is working. What about their fleet movements?" "They are pulling back, consolidating their forces around their core worlds. They are abandoning the outer territories." "Perfect. That is exactly what Admiral Stone wanted. When they are all together in one place, we hit them with everything we have." The psychological warfare campaign continued for 3 weeks. Human teams struck at random locations. They hacked communications and spread false information. They made the Vrakthor see threats everywhere. Soldiers started shooting at shadows. Officers stopped trusting their own troops. And every few days, another high-ranking officer would die or disappear. Each time, the humans left a message. Sometimes it was the name of a species the Vrakthor had destroyed. Sometimes it was just a simple phrase, "We are coming." One night, Alex's team infiltrated a Vrakthor military academy. They did not kill anyone. Instead, they stood in the main hall where young Vrakthor trained to be soldiers. They set up a holographic projector and left it running. When the students arrived in the morning, they found it playing footage from their genocide campaigns. But this time there was narration. A human voice speaking in their language, explaining exactly what they were watching. The murder of civilians, the destruction of art and culture, the complete erasure of entire species. Some of the young Vrakthor watched in horror. They had been taught that their victims were just animals. Now they saw the truth. They saw people, families, children. Many of them left the academy that day, refusing to be part of it anymore. The Vrakthor Empire was breaking. Not from military defeat, but from fear and doubt. They had never questioned their actions before. Now they could not stop questioning them. Now they lay awake at night wondering when the humans would come for them. Finally, one Vrakthor general managed to send a desperate transmission before he died. His fortress was breached. Human soldiers were in the building. He activated his emergency beacon and spoke into his recorder. "This is General Karn. If anyone hears this, know that we made a terrible mistake. We thought we were the apex predators of this galaxy. We were wrong. The humans are not like us. They are not like anyone. They fight like demons. They move like ghosts. They do not rest. They do not quit. Overlord Krauth stood in his war room, staring at the holographic display. It showed the Vrakthor homeworld, surrounded by what remained of his once mighty fleet. 300 ships, all that was left from the 1,000 they had started with. The humans had not destroyed them. That was almost worse. They had disabled them, captured them, humiliated them. He was the supreme leader of the Dominion. He had personally ordered the extermination of 12 species. He had never felt fear before. He felt it now. How long until they arrive? He asked his tactical officer. Our scouts detected their fleet 2 days ago. At current speed, they will reach us in 6 hours. Krauth's claws dug into the console. How many ships? Our scouts counted 400 vessels before they were detected and destroyed. But sir, there is something strange. The humans are not trying to hide. They are broadcasting on all frequencies. They want us to see them coming. Krauth felt his blood run cold. The humans were so confident that they did not bother with stealth anymore. They wanted the Vrakthor to know death was coming. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council watched in their assembly hall. They had been sending desperate messages to Earth for weeks. Please stop. Please show mercy. Please remember that war has costs. Secretary General Amanda Price had responded to their latest plea that morning. Her message was brief. The Vrakthor had many chances to stop. They had 80 years to stop. 37 species begged them to stop. Now it is too late. Justice delayed is justice denied. Today, justice arrives. Aboard the flagship ESS Retribution, Admiral Jacob Stone stood on the bridge watching the countdown. 6 hours until they reached Vrakthor Prime. 6 hours until the final battle. Captain Daniel Harris stood beside him. The Wanderer had been assigned to the main fleet for the final assault. Daniel had come a long way from discovering the Kelhari ruins. Now he commanded a battle group of 20 ships. Are you ready, Captain? Stone asked. Daniel nodded. For this? Yes, sir. I am ready. Remember, our goal is not extermination. We disable their fleet. We force surrender. We bring their leaders to trial. We are not them. I know, sir. That is what makes us better. Stone smiled grimly. Exactly. Now let us finish this. As they got closer, Stone opened a channel to the entire fleet. His voice went out to every ship, every soldier, every person who had volunteered to fight this war. This is Admiral Stone. In 1 hour, we will engage the enemy. Some of you are afraid. That is good. Fear keeps you sharp. But remember why we are here. We are here because 37 species cannot speak for themselves anymore. We are here because the galaxy was too afraid to act. We are here because someone has to stand up and say no more. He paused. The Vrakthor think they are monsters. They think strength is everything. Today we show them what real strength looks like. Not the strength to kill the defenseless, but the strength to protect them. Not the strength of fear, but the strength of justice. Today we show the galaxy what humanity stands for. A cheer went up across the fleet. Thousands of voices united in purpose. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Vrakthor system. Immediately, every sensor locked onto the enemy. The Vrakthor fleet was waiting for them, arranged in defensive formations around their homeworld. Stone opened a channel to Overlord Krauth. The reptilian face appeared on the screen, trying to look brave but failing. Overlord Krauth, this is your last chance. Surrender now. Face justice, or we will take you by force. Krauth bared his teeth. Never. We are Vrakthor. We do not surrender to anyone, especially not to primitives like you. Then you have chosen your fate. All ships, weapons free. Execute battle plan Omega. The human fleet moved forward in perfect coordination. Every ship knew its role. Every captain had studied the plan. This was not a battle. This was a symphony of destruction, conducted by masters of warfare. The Vrakthor fleet charged forward, confident in their numerical advantage. They outnumbered the humans almost 3-1. They had bigger ships, heavier weapons. It did not matter. The human ships split into attack groups. Some went high, some went low, some flanked from the sides. It was a tactic as old as warfare itself, perfected over thousands of years of human conflict. The Vrakthor had never seen anything like it. Human weapons were different too. They did not just rely on energy weapons. They used kinetic kill vehicles, chunks of metal moving at incredible speeds. They used nuclear-pumped lasers that could slice through armor like paper. They used electronic warfare to blind sensors and confuse targeting systems. And they used tactics, real tactics, not just charging forward and hoping superior numbers would win. They baited the Vrakthor into traps. They focused fire on key targets. They used their smaller, faster ships to outmaneuver the larger Vrakthor vessels. On the Retribution, tactical displays showed the battle unfolding. Stone watched with satisfaction. Target their command ships. Cut the head off the snake. 3 human battleships concentrated their fire on the Vrakthor flagship. Shields flared and died. Armor melted. Within minutes, the massive ship was drifting, powerless. Overlord Krauth watched in horror from his war room as his fleet fell apart. Ships exploded or went dark. Communications were jammed. His officers were shouting conflicting orders. Everything was chaos. How is this possible? He roared. We outnumber them. His tactical officer looked at him with despair. Sir, numbers do not matter. They are better. They are so much better. Their coordination, their tactics, their technology. We are children playing at war. They are masters. The battle lasted 4 hours. By the end, 90% of the Vrakthor fleet was destroyed or disabled. Human losses were 3 ships, and all crews had been evacuated before the ships were lost. Stone broadcast again to Krauth. It is over. Surrender now, or we will begin orbital bombardment of military targets. Krauth said nothing. He simply ended the transmission. Begin landing operations, Stone ordered. Colonel Mitchell, your Marines are clear to deploy. Colonel Sam Mitchell led the Marine Expeditionary Force. He was a veteran of ground combat, with medals from 3 different wars. He sat in his command lander as thousands of Marines prepared to drop onto Vrakthor Prime. Listen up, Marines, he said over the comm. The Vrakthor ground forces are waiting for us. They expect to fight. We are going to give them something else. We are going to give them terror. The landers streaked through the atmosphere. Anti-aircraft fire reached up, but human electronic warfare blinded most of it. The landers touched down across the capital city, but the Marines did not immediately attack. Instead, they set up speakers, massive speakers that could be heard for miles, and they played sounds designed to trigger primal fear in the Vrakthor nervous system, sounds that made them want to run and hide. At the same time, every screen in the city showed footage again, the genocide campaigns, the murdered children, the burned cities, and a voice spoke in their language. This is what you did. This is why we are here. Lay down your weapons. Face justice, or we will show you what happens when you make humanity angry. Vrakthor soldiers started surrendering, not in ones or twos, but in entire units. They threw down their weapons and raised their hands. They had seen what humans could do. They did not want to die. Some tried to fight. Those battles were short and brutal. Human Marines with powered armor and advanced weapons overwhelmed them in minutes. But the humans did not kill unnecessarily. They captured prisoners. They gave medical aid to wounded enemies. They showed mercy even when mercy had not been shown to their victims. In his bunker, Overlord Krauth finally understood. He understood that he had made a terrible mistake. He had thought the Vrakthor were the monsters of the galaxy. But they were amateurs. They killed because it was easy. They destroyed because they could. Humans were different. They could kill on a scale the Vrakthor had never imagined. They had weapons that could sterilize entire planets. They had tactics that could break armies and spirits. But they chose not to use them. They chose justice over vengeance. They chose trials over executions. That made them far more terrifying. Because it meant they were in control. It meant they could have destroyed the Vrakthor completely, but chose not to. It meant humanity was not driven by rage or instinct. They were driven by something worse, principle. Krauth activated his emergency transmitter one last time. He spoke to his people. This is Overlord Krauth. I'm ordering all forces to cease resistance and surrender. We have lost. Not just the battle. We have lost our right to call ourselves strong. We thought we were apex predators. We were wrong. We hunted defenseless prey and called it strength. Now we face real predators. Humans did not evolve on a gentle world. They climbed to the top of their food chain through millions of years of struggle. They know warfare better than any species in the galaxy, because they have been perfecting it since before they left their caves. His voice cracked with emotion. We made them remember what they are. We attacked their sense of justice. We forced them to show us their true nature. And now we will face the consequences. Lay down your weapons. Face judgment. Perhaps if we show humility now, they will show us the mercy we never showed others. An hour later, human Marines breached his bunker. Colonel Mitchell led the team personally. They found Krauth sitting at his desk, his weapons on the floor in front of him. The Galactic Council station had been transformed. What was once a place for diplomatic discussions was now a courtroom. The largest courtroom the galaxy had ever seen. Every species sent representatives to witness the trials. This was history being made. Chief Justice Helen Barnes stood at the front of the chamber. She was a former judge from Earth's Supreme Court, chosen to lead the prosecution. Her gray hair was pulled back severely. Her eyes were sharp and missed nothing. She had spent 40 years fighting for justice on Earth. Now she would do the same for the galaxy. In the defendants section sat Overlord Krauth and 47 of his high command. They wore simple gray uniforms now, not their military armor. They looked smaller somehow, less threatening. But everyone in that room knew what they had done. Justice Barnes called the court to order. This tribunal is now in session. The charges are as follows: genocide, crimes against sentient species, mass murder, and crimes against civilization itself. How do the defendants plead? Krauth stood. His lawyer had advised him to show remorse. He chose differently. We do not recognize this court. We did what nature demands. The strong eliminate the weak. That is the law of the universe. A murmur went through the crowd. Justice Barnes looked at him with cold eyes. Then by your own logic you accept your fate. Earth is stronger. You are weak. But unlike you, we believe in justice, not natural law. You will receive a fair trial, something you never gave your victims. The trials were broadcast across the entire galaxy. Every species watched as the evidence was presented. It took weeks. There was so much evidence, Dr. Elizabeth Moore took the stand as an expert witness. She had spent months documenting what the Vrakthor had done. She presented her findings calmly and professionally, but her voice shook when she described what she had found on the Kelhari world. The Kelhari were a peaceful species. They had no military. They had no weapons. When the Vrakthor arrived, they tried to communicate. They offered friendship and trade. The Vrakthor response was to bomb their cities from orbit. Then they landed soldiers to hunt down survivors. She showed images on the screen, buildings destroyed, families dead in their homes. They did not want resources. They did not want territory. They wanted extinction, complete and total extinction. And they achieved it. The Kelhari culture, which had existed for 10,000 years, was erased in 3 days. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for. Mira took the stand. She was no longer the terrified girl they had found in the shelter. She stood straight and spoke clearly. She was the voice of 37 extinct species. My name is Mira. I am the last Kelhari. I want to tell you about my people. For 2 hours she spoke. She told them about Kelhari art, Kelhari music, Kelhari philosophy. She showed them pictures of her family. Her mother who hid her father who was a teacher, her little brother who loved to draw. They are all gone now, every single one of them. And the Vrakthor sit there with no remorse. They do not even see us as people. To them we were just weak things to be eliminated. She turned to face Krauth directly. Tears ran down her face, but her voice was strong. You took everything from us. Our past, our present, our future. You took my mother. You took my world. But you could not take my voice. And I will use that voice to make sure everyone knows what you did. I will make sure the galaxy never forgets the Kelhari, or any of the others you murdered. Even some of the Vrakthor defendants looked uncomfortable now. They had never had to face their victims before. They had never seen them as real. Now Mira stood before them, forcing them to acknowledge what they had destroyed. But the trial was not just about the Vrakthor. Ambassador Chen Liu, Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, took the stand to speak about the Council's role. The Vrakthor are guilty. That is clear, but they are not the only ones responsible. The Galactic Council knew about these genocides for 80 years. They received reports. They heard pleas for help, and they did nothing. The Council representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. You calculated the risks. You debated. You discussed. And while you talked, entire species died. You chose your own safety over justice. You are not on trial today, but history will judge you too. Ambassador Trell stood up, his blue skin dark with emotion. What would you have had us do? We are not warriors. We could not defeat the Vrakthor. Liu turned to face him. You could have asked for help. You could have built alliances. You could have done something. But you chose to do nothing because it was easier. Because it was safer. Well, Earth is here now, and we are proposing a new way forward. He presented the Earth Accords to the court. It was a comprehensive document outlining a new galactic framework. Species rights would be protected by law. Genocide would trigger immediate intervention. An interstellar defense force would enforce these laws. Many council species objected immediately. This is human imperialism, one delegate said. You are imposing your values on us. Liu did not back down. Yes, we are. Because your values allowed genocide to flourish. You talk about respecting different cultures. What about the cultures that were destroyed? The Kelhari had a culture. So did the other 36 species. Where was your respect for them? Another delegate stood. You are asking us to give you military authority over the galaxy. No. We are offering to help build a defense force that protects everyone. You can join it. You can contribute to it. But it will exist. Either with your cooperation or without it. We will not stand by and watch genocide happen again. If that makes us arrogant, so be it. Better arrogant and just than humble and complicit. The debate lasted for days. Some species supported the Earth Accords immediately. Others resisted. But slowly the tide turned. Because everyone had seen what humanity could do. Everyone understood that Earth was not asking permission. Finally, the tribunal reached its verdicts. Justice Barnes stood to deliver them. Overlord Krauth, you are found guilty on all charges. The evidence is overwhelming. Your own records prove your guilt. You personally ordered the extermination of 12 species. You showed no mercy and no remorse. This court sentences you to life imprisonment without possibility of parole. Krauth showed no reaction. He had known this was coming. The other defendants received similar sentences. Some got life imprisonment. Others got centuries of prison time. The youngest officers, who had followed orders without question, received lighter sentences with the possibility of rehabilitation. But 3 of the highest-ranking officers received death sentences. They had personally participated in atrocities. They had murdered children with their own hands. The court found that some crimes were beyond rehabilitation. As the verdicts were read, something unexpected happened. One of the Vrakthor officers, a younger general named Scar, stood up. I request permission to speak, he said. Justice Barnes looked surprised but nodded. You may speak. I participated in 2 genocide campaigns. I followed orders. I did terrible things, and I did not question any of it because I believed what we were taught, that we were strong and they were weak, that this was natural. He looked at Mira. But sitting here listening to her testimony, I understand now. I understand what we really were. Not strong. Not apex predators, just bullies, just murderers. And I am sorry. I know that means nothing. I know sorry cannot bring anyone back. But I need to say it. What we did was wrong. Completely and totally wrong. Several other Vrakthor officers stood and echoed his words. They apologized. They acknowledged their crimes. Overlord Krauth glared at them with contempt, but they did not care. They had finally seen the truth. After the trials concluded, the real work began. The surviving Vrakthor population was placed under supervised rehabilitation. Their military was disbanded completely. Their weapons were confiscated. Human advisors helped them build a new government based on law and justice. Director Sophie Adams led the Galactic Reconciliation Commission. She was a psychologist who specialized in post-conflict societies. Her job was to help the Vrakthor change their culture. It will take generations, she told a press conference. You cannot erase a culture of violence overnight. But we have to try. We have to show them a better way. Not just through punishment, but through education and example. The Earth Accords were formally adopted 6 months after the trials. Every species in the galaxy signed, even those who had initially resisted. The Interstellar Defense Force was established with human leadership, but members from dozens of species. Mira became the official representative of the Survivor Species Coalition. She traveled across the galaxy, speaking about what had happened. She made sure that no one forgot the Kelhari or any of the other extinct species. One day she visited Krauth in his prison. He looked old now, broken. The arrogance was gone. Why did you come? He asked. Because I needed to see you like this, powerless, imprisoned, facing the consequences of your actions. My mother told me before she died that justice always comes eventually. She was right. Krauth looked at her. I still do not understand. Your humans could have destroyed us completely. Why did they not? Mira smiled sadly. Because that is what you would have done. They are better than you. They understand that true strength is not the ability to destroy, but the wisdom to show mercy when it is deserved, and the courage to deliver justice when it is not. She turned to leave, then stopped. 5 years had passed since the fall of the Vrakthor Dominion. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined. The scars were still visible, but healing had begun. Admiral Daniel Harris stood on the bridge of his flagship looking out at the stars. He had been promoted 3 times since discovering the Kelhari ruins. Now he commanded the entire interstellar defense force. His hair was grayer now and new lines marked his face. But his eyes were still sharp. The IDF had grown into something remarkable. It was not just a human organization anymore. Ships from 20 different species flew in formation. Officers from a dozen worlds worked side by side on the command stations. They wore different uniforms and spoke different languages, but they shared one goal: protect the innocent. Lieutenant Commander Kyle Bennett entered the bridge. He had grown into his role over the years. Admiral, we have a situation. Distress call from the frontier. A species called the Gen Collective is raiding colony worlds. Harris turned. What do we know about them? Not much. They are aggressive. They have advanced weapons. They seem to think the frontier colonies are easy targets. Harris smiled grimly. They are about to learn otherwise. Send a message to the Galactic Council. Inform them we are responding to the threat. Then set course for the frontier. On the council station, the debate began immediately. Some representatives wanted to send diplomatic missions first. They wanted to negotiate, to discuss, to understand the Gen motivations, but Ambassador Chen Liu stood and cut through the discussion. No. We tried patience before. We tried discussion, and 37 species died while we talked. The IDF will handle this. They will stop the raids. Then we will talk to the Gen. But first the violence stops. The vote passed. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Sometimes peace required strength. Sometimes protecting the innocent meant confronting the aggressor. The IDF fleet arrived at the frontier 3 days later. They found the Gen raiding a small colony world. The Gen ships were powerful, covered in weapons and armor. They were attacking a settlement of peaceful traders who had no defenses. But this time humanity did not fight alone. Harris opened a channel to the entire fleet. Human ships, Kalashi ships, even reformed Vrakthor ships now part of the peacekeeping force. They all waited for his orders. All ships, this is Admiral Harris. The Gen are attacking innocents. We will stop them. Engage defensive protocols. Disable their weapons. Capture their ships if possible. Remember, we are here to protect, not to destroy. Execute. The fleet moved forward in perfect coordination. The Gen turned to face them, clearly expecting easy prey. They broadcast threats and demands for surrender. Then they saw the IDF formation. Ships from multiple species working together with precision the Gen had never seen. And leading them were human vessels, with technology and tactics honed over thousands of years of warfare. The battle was over in 20 minutes. The IDF did not destroy the Gen ships. They disabled them with surgical precision. Engines knocked out. Weapons offline. Crew alive but unable to fight. Harris opened a channel to the Gen commander. A large insectoid face appeared on the screen, mandibles clicking in confusion. I am Admiral Daniel Harris of the Interstellar Defense Force. You have attacked peaceful colonies. You have 2 choices. Stand down and join the galactic community or face consequences. But know this. The galaxy is no longer divided into predators and prey. We are all guardians now. The Gen commander stared at him. You are protecting them? Why, they are weak. They are not your species. That is exactly why we protect them. Because they cannot protect themselves. Because it is the right thing to do. You can learn this lesson the easy way or the hard way. Choose. The Gen commander looked at the disabled ships around him. He looked at the unified fleet facing him. Ships that should have been enemies working together. Species that should have been weak, showing strength through unity. Finally, he spoke. We will talk. Send your diplomats. Harris allowed himself a small smile. Another conflict ended without massive bloodshed. Another species learning that the galaxy had changed. Back on Earth, Secretary General Amanda Price addressed the United Nations. She was older now, ready to retire soon. But she wanted to speak about what humanity had accomplished. 5 years ago, we went to war, not for conquest, not for resources, but for justice. Many of you questioned that decision. You asked if it was worth the risk, if we had the right to impose our values on others. She paused, looking out at the assembly. Today, I can answer those questions. Yes, it was worth it, because genocide has not happened once in 5 years, because weak species no longer live in fear, because the galaxy learned that evil will be confronted, not tolerated. They called us monsters. They were right in a way. We are monsters, but monsters are not always evil. Sometimes they are what stands between civilization and chaos. Sometimes they are what protects the innocent from predators. Sometimes being a monster means being strong enough to fight evil, and wise enough not to become it. The assembly erupted in applause. Earth had changed the galaxy, and the galaxy had changed Earth. They were no longer alone. They had allies now, partners, friends. Dr. Elizabeth Moore published her comprehensive study that year. It was titled, The Human Paradox: How Earth's Most Violent Species Became the Galaxy's Peacekeepers. It became required reading in every university across civilized space. In her conclusion, she wrote, "Humanity's capacity for violence made them understand its consequences. Their history of warfare made them desperate for peace, and their experience with genocide made them willing to fight to prevent it. This unique combination of traits, forged through millions of years of evolution and thousands of years of history, created a species uniquely suited to be galactic protectors, not because they are peaceful, but because they chose peace after learning the alternative." Mira continued her work with the Survivor Species Coalition. She traveled constantly, speaking at schools and universities, teaching young people from dozens of species about what happened and why it must never happen again. One day, she was invited to speak at the Galactic Council Assembly. She stood before the gathered representatives and told her story one more time. 5 years ago, I thought I was the last of my kind. I sat in a shelter waiting to die. Then humans found me. They did not know me. They did not owe me anything. But they helped me anyway. She looked around at the assembled species. Today, the Kelhari are rebuilding. We have a colony on a new world. We have hope for the future. And we have it because Earth answered when no one else would. They did not save us because we were useful. They saved us because it was right. Some of you still fear humanity. You see their capacity for violence and it frightens you. Good. It should frighten you. But understand this, that violence is controlled. It is directed. It is used only to protect the innocent and punish the guilty. That is not monstrous. That is humanity. The assembly gave her a standing ovation. Even the species that had initially opposed human intervention now stood and applauded. They had seen the results. They understood now. In a military academy on Earth, young cadets trained for service in the IDF. They came from all over the planet, different nations, different cultures, different backgrounds, but they shared one goal. Lieutenant Commander Kyle Bennett, now an instructor, addressed the newest class. You are here because you want to serve, to protect, to make a difference. That is good. But understand what you are signing up for. You will face danger. You will make hard choices. You will see things that haunt you. He looked at each of them. But you will also do the most important work in the galaxy. You will stand between the innocent and those who would harm them. You will be the reason that species like the Kelhari can sleep safely at night. You will be proof that strength and justice can exist together. The cadets listened intently. They understood the weight of responsibility they were accepting. In the reconstructed capital of the Vrakthor world, former soldiers worked alongside human advisors. They were learning new ways, learning that strength could be used to build instead of destroy, learning that protecting the weak was not shameful but noble. It was slow work. Many Vrakthor still clung to the old ways, but younger generations were different. They had seen where the old ways led. They wanted something better. General Scar, the Vrakthor officer who had apologized during the trials, now worked with the rehabilitation program. He spent his days teaching young Vrakthor about the mistakes of the past. We were taught that mercy was weakness, he told a class of students. That compassion was foolish. That only strength mattered. We were wrong. Completely and utterly wrong. And the humans proved it to us. They could have destroyed us. They had every right to. We had committed genocide. We had murdered billions. But they chose justice over vengeance. They chose rehabilitation over extermination. That is true strength. That is what we must learn. The story ended on Earth at a shipyard in orbit around the moon. Workers from a dozen species labored together, building a new vessel. It was an exploration ship, designed to seek out new life and new civilizations. Admiral Harris attended the launch ceremony. He was preparing to retire soon, ready to pass the torch to the next generation, but he wanted to see this ship launched first. It was named the ESS Guardian. Its mission was simple but profound: